What are the 5 types of business entities? I love this conversation because living corporate life is a term that I made up, because if you want to be a great entrepreneur and a wealth builder, you live corporate life. So inside this video, I'm going to talk about the 5 different entity structures. I'm going to talk about what each of them do or typically used for. Number 3, which one makes sense for you today? And if you're 18 years and older, you want to stay tuned to the end because you need an entity, and you'll say why? Because you want to structure your life to put the most strategy financially. So I'm going to give you some fun facts, really, which are shocking. I was actually surprised to just see the numbers that come through. The facts are 70% of businesses are structured incorrectly for their income levels. And I'm going to throw another variable in there because we do a lot of work with the health and medical industries. The amount of doctors who no longer practice medicine, who still have a PC, a professional corp, they don't need it if you're not practicing. There's a whole variety of structures with some specialty to them and distinctions to them that if you don't keep up with who you are and how you're practicing annually, which most CPAs aren't going to give you that insight, you're supposed to just know that. It's not shocking, but 70%, I was a little surprised how high that is. Your entity choice alone changes your taxes by 20 to 40%. So if you don't know, you don't go to the legal Zooms and the trust and will departments. There's a whole bunch of online do-it-yourself. How do you do it yourself? You're not an expert. You have absolutely no education in what tax structure is going to be for you the best entity, the best trust, the best, like all of that needs to be done by a professional. Our level of professionals in our tax strategy areas and our team, because it's me and 28 other experts, plus, and just in the tax team, we got dozens, an amazing variety of teams. But they go to school for as long as it takes a surgeon to go to, become a surgeon. So you don't do your own surgeries. Why are you doing your own tax strategy? You don't know how. So put your softwares away and grow up and be an entrepreneur wealth builder, or just stay stuck and then don't complain about it. Because this is a very predictable decision, what entity and what tax liability you're going to have per year. But it's up to you. Other facts. Most businesses should evolve entities as they grow, meaning add more. It's amazing how many people worth millions of dollars come to me as a client and they operate out of 2 LLCs or 1 S-Corp and you're making millions. Why hasn't that been modified and expanded? It's amazing to me, the illiteracy that is out in the world. So it's why we're existing here at Integrated Wealth Systems, to help you understand and what you should have and what you could have to activate the best playbook for you and your family. So the 5 kind of entities. Now, I'm taking a lot of this off of, what's been taught. Sole proprietors 1. Our world, we don't even identify with a sole proprietor. So if you're a sole proprietor, you're going to need to move up if you want to truly live corporate life, because sole proprietor is not really corporate life. It's just you and your Social Security number and about 33 deductions you can take on a Schedule C. What you want is to move into what's appropriate, an LLC, which is a limited liability company, a limited partnership, not just a basic partnership where 2 people come together and say, we're going to do a business and get a bank account. That's like a sole proprietor version. None of those versions. This is a legal corporate entity with an EIN, a tax identification number. You don't operate with Social Security number ever going forward. So again, why 18 and older, and yes, I'm aggressive about it, is because when you have a legal intent to make money, and you can, put it in a company, not your own personal bank account. So you have a limited liability company, you have a limited partnership, you have an S corporation and a C corporation. And then again, that little sole proprietor is number 5, but we're going to pretty much delete that from here on out in our conversations because that doesn't really matter. The one thing I will say, just to give a little shock factor to the sole proprietors that are listening to this, you are financially irrelevant in the financial services world because it's you and your sole proprietor. So you may have 2 bank accounts, 1 business, 1 personal. You still operate on your Social Security number and you still don't get the tax benefits of the entire tax code. So why, with one more move, even though, yes, it costs money to maintain, to get an entity and then maintain an entity, it's worth it. The savings that you can do in your taxes alone and the liability protection of you and everything you own in your life, it's worth the small cost that it takes to set up the right entity and then maintain it for the rest of your life, and then your kids take it on for generational wealth. We do not shut them down. I say once you put your plane in the air, meaning an entity, don't take it down. You want the length and the duration of the history of these companies. In the financial services world, makes your history of making money and spending money, and the more active you are in those companies, the more lines of credit, the more viability. Some of you could say, well, I can't get any money. Nobody will borrow me money. I can't get a credit card. Well, some of you don't deserve one because your making and spending behaviors are so odd. They're so off pattern. and they're in your social security number. They don't matter. They're not part of your EIN, tax identification number, and they're not part of a proper structure. So the first thing I want you to do, I want you to go to our Millionaire Intensive. Effective January 2026, we're going to move from an 8-hour once a month event, and we're going to divide it into 4 2-hour events. So our Millionaire Intensive now is 2 hours. It's from 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock Pacific. So take a long lunch on that day and join us to really understand what it means to live corporate life. Have your companies make money, not you. We're going to show you the Rockefeller model of how you can own nothing, control it all through corporate structure, and then activate the greatest tax code in the world by your companies making money, not you. And yeah, some of you that are employed, you can keep your employment and you need to have this life. So we'll show you how to do both. But join us at our Millionaire Intensive. Grab 2 tickets in the show notes below. While you're there, also grab my Millionaire Maker book version 2. Read up to chapter 3. Get a gap analysis with our team. And a gap analysis is where you are, what you want, and how we're going to help you get there to fill in the gaps on your plan. And again, no plan is a plan. So lean in and make this important for you and your families. So sole proprietors, we've already talked about what those do. Limited liability partnerships have been known for decades, centuries. And they're the traditional model for syndications, for gas and oil, for big real estate projects, big development land projects. There's the general partner, which is the managers, and they do everything else. And the investors are literally like the limited partnership. So those are more sophisticated and usually set up by tax lawyers. We don't use them a lot in our strategy. You can use them for generational wealth. They actually work fairly well in that. What we typically do are the other 3. LLCs, which are limited liability companies, S corporations, and C Corps. Let's talk about the LLC and the S Corp. So between the S Corp, the limited liability partnerships, and the sole proprietor, they're called pass-throughs, which means on December 31st in the United States, whatever you did in that year will pass through. Each of those companies can do their own tax return, but at the end, it'll have a whole summation to you and what you owe. So it's going to pass through to you and your total amounts that you've taken in distributions, salaries, and how you paid yourself. It's amazing that the 70% of entities not set up right, it's usually in how you pay yourself. Because a lot of you don't pay yourself properly. You pay yourself either way too much in W-2, or you don't pay yourself hardly any, which isn't enough to pay for your basic personal expenses, so then you take a distribution. So we actually formulate this down. You won't be taking distributions. You'll be having an exact proper amount that you pay yourself out of the company as an employee and what the companies actually make. Now, every one of these companies have to have a legal intent to make money and do business. So what is your legal intent? It could be as small as a direct sales company, network marketing company. You could do a dog walking company, which, by the way, one of the stories in the Millionaire Maker book is how I took a dog walker, made her into a house services manager, and she became a millionaire. So there's lots of ways to actually make money. Bottom line with any of these companies is that you get professional help. So we have a whole team. It's me and 28 experts. The corporate structure and corporate compliance team that I have worked with has been here almost from the beginning of the big table, which is over 25 years. So they are experts. They actually don't just set up the company. It's a one-on-one conversation. They actually do the compliance, and we handle it with you. So this is not a done for you. It is a done with you, because then you need to, as you behave every day inside this company, of how it's making money, how you spend money, how you get credit, how you get credit cards, how you do a 401k, whether it's appropriate or not, it all matters. So you want some professional help. You don't want to just go to what I call the 99-cent store, LegalZoom. There's no help out there. You're just clicking buttons because you heard somebody here on the bathroom wall called the internet say, oh, you need to have a company. So you just, typically what I see, clients just go get an LLC to get an LLC. They don't know how to use it, and they don't know if it's appropriate for the business that they're starting. So while you're here, if you want to learn more, number one, go up and get a playlist. There are so many topics that I talk about, especially in this category of how do you reduce your taxes. It's through corporate structure and living corporate life. While you're here, I also want you to subscribe to this channel. Be here 5 days a week. Click that notification button. And whatever device, when it rings in the morning, it says new video, new content, go listen to it. And if you hear the words and say, oh, I think I know what she's going to talk about, and you click out, no, listen to the whole video. I only do them usually 5, maybe 10 minutes. Make it part of your financial literacy journey. So to do that, I also have a journal. Go grab that in the show notes. The journal is designed for the YouTube channel on what video, what day, what'd you learn, what are you going to do. So over the course of a year, you actually build an action plan. So you really need a journal per year, and then just watch your financial development. Now, before I close out, I want to talk about the C-Corp. I call it the Mothership. It is the biggest of them all. It does not associate to you. We use this in many, many, many ways, especially if you're going to buy a new company, sell a new company, you want a management company. The C-Corp allows an off-year tax benefit. So we have an entire strategy around how these companies work together, why they work together, and all of our millionaires, I would say, have at least one LLC, an S, and a C. You say, why do they have all three? That's for us to know and you to find out. It's our playbook on how we help you keep your taxes to the lowest possible basis, and they're predictable. This is not a guessing game. This is a math equation. It's not difficult. It's just different. If you have any questions, go to askloral.com, ASKLORAL. Ask a question, make a request. We'll be back tomorrow.